The Verdict. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett joining you again this Sunday morning, or whenever it is you choose to watch this show. We have a new guest, a return guest on a different topic, Mick. We're talking about this week dementia and all of its aspects.
You mean it could happen to you someday, or it could also be someone that you care about that is going through it. So it's dementia is a subject that touches everybody in one way or another, and I still think there's a lot of information that people should learn and learn more about how they can help a person that's dealing with it.
Yes, and we have invited back for her second show with us Michelle Shepard. She's going to be our guest today when we come back from the break. Folks, with Mick Cornett and Kent Meyers, you're watching The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Encouraging young people in the fields of science, technology, and math means to me that our country will stay on the forefront of innovation and new thinking. In First Lego League, they learn that geeky is cool, and that's the best. My name is Terry Sentner. I'm an IT specialist at the Library of Congress, and I'm a Chickasaw. When a kid goes from not ever having programmed a robot or even built something with an engine to making it drive forward, their eyes just light up. I've always been interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. Kind of goes with being an MIT graduate, I suppose. It feels so good to know that you're helping kids to become something they want to be, and they give me hope for the future. I think that there are a lot of opportunities out there for young people, especially Native Americans. Don't give up, and that's the key, is keep reaching.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofenation.com.
We want to reach out to every veteran we can in Oklahoma. There's somewhere around 340,000 veterans here in Oklahoma, and half of those are still unaware of the benefits or don't know how to go about getting them.
We help guide the veterans through the VA system. It's a giant maze, and we kind of help guide them through that maze. So our job is to try to help the veterans get everything that they're legally entitled to. There's just a special place in my heart for our Vietnam veterans and our World War II veterans, as well as any veteran, and that's why I do the job.
The Vet Hero office at the University of Central Oklahoma, it is a one-stop shop for veterans when they're trying to get their education.
I call it my encore job. I get to take care of veterans. We help them transition. I was that guy that transitioned after 24 years, and in the end, GI Bill is a benefit that those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine earned. It was the thing that made us the greatest country in the world coming out of World War II, and it will continue to do the same thing for this future generation of service members.
And welcome back. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett joining you again this Sunday morning with the new show on dementia. We are really pleased to welcome back to our set Michelle Shepard. We had her on a couple of weeks ago dealing with other topics, but today she's going to be talking about the general subject of dementia. She has spent virtually her entire adult life taking care of others. She has had 26 years in senior care, memory care, and the like. She is a licensed practical nurse. She was selected as part of the team to open the hospice and palliative care unit at the Veterans Hospital. And she has been a long-term care administrator as well as an executive director in an assisted living and memory care facility. So she's eminently qualified to talk about this topic and kind enough to give us her time. Michelle, welcome back. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Michelle, you've talked on this subject so many times, you probably run across a lot of misconceptions about dementia. What are some of those misconceptions? What do people generally not know enough about the disease?
Well, one of the things I think that we're beginning to realize and recognize is generally when someone's diagnosed with dementia, they assume it's Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the leading cause of dementia. 60 to 80% of your diagnosis is truly Alzheimer's. What they're finding now is there's mixed dementia. So you have Alzheimer's, you have PICS or Lewy bodies dementia, and vascular dementia. So Alzheimer's and then vascular dementia is the second leading cause of dementia, and then Lewy bodies. And they all we are noticing that they play a part together in the dementia factor of someone's brain. It's not just simply Alzheimer's. And that actually dictates how you would care for someone. Because with typical Alzheimer's, there may not necessarily be a lot of behavioral problems, whereas when you get into your Lewy body dementias, there is. And it kind of dictates how you would treat, or, there's really not a treatment, but slow the process of the plaque tangles in the brain. But misconception is once, mom, dad, husband, wife, myself, or whoever is diagnosed with dementia, that life is over. And it's not. It really, really isn't.
Let me ask you, I have the general understanding that Alzheimer's, unless not carried out to its final stages for some reason or another, is a terminal illness, that one does not survive Alzheimer's.
Correct.
Are these other two types of dementia that you mentioned likewise terminal?
Well, generally you die with the complications of Alzheimer's and the complications of dementia. With Alzheimer's, we have 1 billion neurons in our brain that are cells that carry information. It's like a computer system in our brain, and it carries information to a point with a synapses point, and then it goes out and you have neurotransmitters, and that transmits information throughout the brain on what to do, how to talk, how to walk, everything that we do in our daily lives, it's transmitting. Well, with Alzheimer's, you have a plaque and tangles, and the plaque affects the outside of the cells, and the tangles affects the inside of the cells. And so when you're trying to transmit information, like say, for example, you're trying to pick up the phone and dial and use it, sequencing. Later on in Alzheimer's, it's blocking. It's not telling you how to do that. So people get confused. In the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, you forget how to learn new information, basically. With vascular, it's because of blood flow to the brain. With Lewy bodies, that it's more of a front temporal part of dementia, and it begins to affect, your walking. And it has you have more delusions with that. So people generally die from complications of Alzheimer's or a form of dementia. And you can see with Lewy bodies and Parkinson's, they all have the same thing going on with the plaques and the tangles sometimes. And so that's where we get the mixed dementia. And it's good that we're looking at it like that. But eventually, as your brain cells die in your head, you need all of those things in order to breathe and to eat and to swallow and to, do things like that. So generally people die from complications of dementia. Yes, absolutely.
Michelle, sometimes you'll see a patient revert back to a previous time in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a common theme as to what time period in their life they revert back to?
Well, typically what happens is they can recall old information because we can't learn anything new, but we can recall way back when I was a kid and I was with my mom and she's baking me a cake. They can see that, they can remember that. And not only are they remembering that, but what we find is they're living that. That's where they're at. That's where, so if you have someone that says, my husband doesn't know me anymore, he doesn't recognize me. Well, the wife might be looking at him as a younger version. And he doesn't look like a younger version because it's been 50 years. And so that's what they're seeing. They're living back in time. And literally, when they're thinking about their husband on their wedding day, well, this man that, it's been 50 years looks totally different, because he does look different, because they're able to live in this time back. They can draw from their long-term memory, because that's etched. That is very well etched in the brain. And that's why a lot of times they don't recognize you or someone else.
What are the early signs of dementia?
Well, generally the early signs are you can't learn new information. It's very difficult to learn new information. With Alzheimer's, someone could be doing perfectly fine. Say, for example, you're going to the store and you know why you're going to the store, you're going to bake a cake. So you go to the store, you get the items that you need, and you're walking out to your car, you know exactly where your car is, you get in your car, you open it up, you know you're going to drive to your home, but how the heck do I turn this car on? So you start to have little snaps of those types of things happen, especially with Alzheimer's. And then things can be perfectly fine. That's why we find with Alzheimer's, people have a tendency to not tell anyone, because it's embarrassing. You're thinking, my gosh, I'm going crazy, Things like that start to happen. We all forget things. We all walk into a room and forget, what did I do with my keys, or why am I in here? We have stress. We've got a lot going on in life. We forget. But it's when we forget how to do things like that, or we're driving down the same road that we've been driving down for 30 years, and all of a sudden we look up and it doesn't look familiar. And so that's when those synapses, that neurotransmitter is not working. So those plaque tangles are building up, and they can't transmit that information there. And so it also, then all of a sudden it can get over the hump.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
generally, when it's at that stage, is it the actual person that starts to notice this, or is it the people around that person that notices it first?
Generally, the person themselves start to realize, something's not right here, and they're feeling kind of awkward. That's why we'll find once, somebody, the family really realizes that, they have dementia, that they'll find like road maps to get them from point A to point B. Reminders like notes, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do this. And these are simply things like, don't forget to take the clothes out of the washing machine, don't forget to put your makeup on, don't forget, literal things to help them throughout their day. And then the family starts to realize, there's some changes, because this person is trying to mask this. And so they're going to be you'll find that they don't want to go to social gatherings. They don't want to go out to dinner anymore, because they might make a mistake. They might make a wrong decision, and people are going to know what's going on. And it's embarrassing. It really is. And then the family begins to realize, and then generally that person will open up and they realize that they're having these concerns, and then go to the doctor, and then get more of a clear diagnosis.
On that note, we need to take a break. We're halfway through our show with Michelle Shepard. You're visiting with Mick Cornett and Kent Meyers and Michelle Shepard. We'll be right back.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative, and this year, our competition teams rank number 2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. a legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett visiting with Michelle Shepard. Mick, where would you like to go?
We're talking to Michelle about dementia. Michelle, is there a certain age when a person is more likely to start developing the early signs of dementia?
Well, generally, when we see with Alzheimer's, it can be in the 60s, 70s, 80s. The natural progression of aging you really don't have a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's type dementia, is our brains begin to deteriorate naturally. And so we're naturally going to forget things. But what they find with Alzheimer's, generally it's 70s, 80s. You have your early onset of Alzheimer's, which is more of a familial type Alzheimer's disease, where there's a rare gene and you see it genetically through multiple people in the family, multiple generations. And those are the people that you'll find going to get gene tested to see if they have that gene, because mom, was diagnosed with early onset in her 50s, and then maybe grandma was, and so forth. And those generally, and there's not, you don't see as many of those type of diagnoses, but it's growing more that they learn about it. But it just really depends on. There's no really pinpointing unless except for with vascular dementia, depending on how healthy you are, your heart, and you've had a stroke, which would be your vascular dementia. But generally you see 60, 70, 80s. Later on in life is generally.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some events in one's life that can be misdiagnosed as dementia? For instance, if someone is under enormous stress for a job loss or loss of a relative or a divorce or whatever the event might be, that will cause them to not remember as well, not be able to function as well, that is likely to perhaps improve as time goes along, as they get over the stress, as they get a new job, whatever the event might be.
Absolutely. We call that stress-induced confusion. Whenever you're under a lot of stress, especially, if you've got a lot going on, and look at today's world. I mean, we are just constantly busy, and now we're dealing with COVID on top of that, but you have a lot going on. You've lost a loved one, you've lost your job, now you're worrying, and you've got so many things on your mind. Yeah, absolutely. You get confused. I mean, you're just not thinking straight. You'll forget words, you'll forget things. We see that a lot with even a couple of when people move into communities, that their spouse just passed away. They've just sold their home. Now they're here. What a huge life change. And they just can't seem to get things together in their mind. They can't focus. And then once they begin to settle, and once life begins to settle back into a normal pattern, you see that they do just fine. The stress has gone away, the confusion has gone away. There's normal pressure hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain. Generally, you'll see people become incontinent and they start to lean. And once that's addressed, they put a shunt in and drain, then the confusion goes away. And there's no, it's not dementia. It's not truly dementia. dementia is a progression of the same thing over and over and over. Even if you've gone through life changes, things have, leveled out in your life changes, but yet you continue to see those, patterns of not being able to use the appropriate word, or not being able to multitask, make multiple decisions and things like that, and do the things that you would normally do. So it's kind of a difference. But yeah, absolutely, there is stress-induced confusion. Yeah.
Michelle, a lot of research dollars going into to try and help people with this disease over the last couple of decades. Have you seen conditions improve for patients because of the research that's already taken place?
I have. The Alzheimer's Association does an amazing job. They really do. They have a lot of education for family members, because really, truly, unless you're putting your loved one in assisted living or a memory care, you really don't know what to do. And there's not a lot of avenues or, support. So where do I reach out to find this information? And the Alzheimer's Association is phenomenal with connecting you with support groups. They teach you. I learned how to be a facilitator of a support group from the Alzheimer's Association. And they really do raise awareness. And I think they're, truly, Parkinson's Foundation, same thing. They do an awesome job. But I think it's all about educating family members, loved ones, to really, truly realize that this is their new normal. This is their world, and we have to live in it because they can no longer live in ours. We have to enter their journey and learn how to enter their journey. And that's the tough part, is learning how to enter their journey and accepting it and being okay with it and being a part of it.
Is the response by the family member that is not afflicted toward the person that is afflicted important? Is it noticed by the person with dementia, even though they have dementia?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's all in your approach. It's all in your demeanor. It's in your expression on your face. It's in your body language. And their loved one is their safety person. That is their safety person. They may not remember their name, but they remember their touch. They remember their voice. They remember their smell. And that is their safety person. And it's really important for the loved one to truly try to grasp. And it's so hard for them, because this person's changing before their eyes, and they're going away before their eyes. And they're having to wrap their mind around that, at the same time trying to provide love and support and compassion to this person who, is slipping away from them. And it's very difficult, but absolutely, they know. They can tell in your voice. Even in memory care, when we work with residents in memory care, I always tell my staff, no matter what, you have a smile on your face and you compassion in your eyes, because they know. And that's what makes them feel safe.
How about support animals, Michelle? Is that something that's growing in acceptance?
Yes. Yep. Support dogs are wonderful. There's even a place, and I think it's like in Denmark, that have chickens. And I haven't figured out the chicken thing yet, but apparently it works. But absolutely. Now they even have simulated animals, like seals, and it has like little neuroelectrical things on top of their fur. And when they pet it, they can feel it, and it moves. And the seal can respond to the person's touch. But absolutely, they love dogs, and they love support. We've even had support cats. So yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's a big smile on their face.
Well, Michelle, I'm afraid that's got to be our last word. Thank you so much, not simply for doing our show, but thank you so much for how you've dedicated your life and your career to helping others. It's just so admirable. I don't know how to express it properly, but we really do appreciate you joining us today. And Mick, you and I will be back after the break with email addresses for some folks. And Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching The Verdict. Mick and I will be right back.
It used to be okay in teachers' lounges. It used to be okay in maternity wards. It was okay in sporting arenas, college campuses, and office spaces. But now that we understand the deadly dangers of secondhand smoke, that's not okay anymore. So why is it okay that thousands of employees are exposed to it every day at work? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's protect hardworking Oklahomans. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett. Mick, why don't you just close us up, if you will?
Well, tough subject. Michelle was really good about talking about dementia. I think offering hope for people who are dealing with a loved one who might be dealing with that disease. And I imagine there might be people watching that want to get a hold of her now that they've seen the show, and you can do that at their website, tapestryokc.com. That's going to do it for this edition of The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett for Kent Meyers. We'll see you next week with another show.